Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another manga review. And once again we're going to be taking a look at Fairy Tail with Volume 10 from Hiro Mashima, which sees the start of the Tower of Heaven arc. But before we get into that, I just want to touch upon what happened in Volume 9. So in Volume 9 we learned that Loki is actually a celestial spirit known as Leo of the Lion Palace, and we delved into his backstory and how, 3 or 4 years ago, he had actually served under a different master known as Karen Lilica, and she was not the nicest person and abused her spirit, so Loki decided he didn't want any part of it anymore and petitioned to have her release the spirit Ares, but of course she didn't do it and went out on a job which resulted in her death. So for that, Loki remained in the human world and was out for so long that his body was going to disintegrate and, essentially die, until Lucy found him and basically pleaded with the Celestial Spirit King to make him stay and not fade away, and he actually became a spirit under Lucy's command. So I really like how Mashima has delved into characters' backstories, not just our main heroes, because obviously we had Gray's backstory, we had Lucy's backstory. This particular arc that we're getting into now delves into Erza's backstory, but we've also had minor instances where we've looked at Elfman, Mira Jane, and Lasana, and now Loki. So I really like that. I hope we see more of that. And also, we learned that Lucy made her way back to her father and said, look, dude, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care about these fancy dresses. I'm going to hang with my friends from Fairy Tail, my real family who's accepted me, and you can kiss my ass. And also, we learned that Lucy's mother, Layla, had passed away, which is probably the result of, the strained relationship between her and her father. So now let's get into Volume 10 here after that lengthy recap. And oh boy, we got a lot of fan service here, especially in the beginning. So there's a bit of a, I wouldn't say filler chapter, but a laid back chapter in between the next heavy arc. So what happens is it starts off with Loki telling everyone he's a celestial spirit and how he's Leo the lion. And Natsu's imagining what a lion is. And you have this funny little scene with Happy saying, oh, you're a grown-up cat. Yeah, exactly. And Lucy says, exactly wrong. So Loki, he'd accepted his death, but before that, he had all these tickets to go to a casino and a resort and all that, and that was going to be his last hurrah, because his whole character, he was a womanizer, and that was his coping mechanism. So he decides to give the tickets to all the members of Team Natsu here, and they go on a nice little adventure to a resort. And you have this great scene, too, with Erza with her beach gear. She's got her floating inner tube and her umbrellas and all that. And they're like, how did you get ready so fast? And you got the fan servicey beach episode. I can't wait to see what this is like in the anime. So everyone, all the babes in their bikinis, and they're all ready to go. And Greg keeping up with his stripping traditions. He's in the pool here or the ocean or wherever he is. And look, you can see his crack there. He's taking his shorts off. And Juvia snuck on and is accompanying them all. I look at her in the background. Gray-sama, you're so fearless. Ah. What the hell is Juvia doing there? So they're playing volleyball and just having a great time. Everyone's having fun. And Erza takes a little nap there. It was an enjoyable day, truly. And then we get a flashback of her at the Tower of Heaven as a young girl with restraints on as a slave working to build this tower. So she wakes up all sweaty and startled and does her re-equipping to get her armor on. And she mentions, this makes me feel more safe and comfortable. And Lucy says, all right, we got to go to the casino now. So put on something nice. And she gets into this nice dress. And then it gets over to Natsu, who's playing roulette. And obviously the casinos are always rigged. And he's using his breath to try and move it. No, I saw it on 17. It's cheating. And Happy says, aye, sir. So Gray's here at the slot machine. And then Juvia shows up. Gray-sama, Juvia decided to come too. What are you doing here? Look at Juvia, man. She's got the fairy tale necklace on. I guess she's not a part of the guild quite yet, but she's trying to make her way into the guild, and obviously has great feelings for Gray. So then Natsu's trying to win his game here, and then this dude shows up. Boy, you occasionally find dangerous playing adult games like this. And they're like, he's a square. Like, look at this dude. What even is he? And then as this is going on, he pulls a gun on Natsu. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? Why? I thought we were getting a nice little, in between arcs thing going on, but we're going straight into the action. And then Gray and Juvia are getting some heart-to-heart here, where Juvia says she wants to join the guild, and then this dude shows up. You're a great foe-buster, huh? Tell me where Erza is. And then same thing, the boxy dude is asking that to Natsu as well. So then Erza's playing poker here with Lucy, or blackjack, or whatever she's playing. Look at all the tokens she has. And then the dealer sends out some more cards, which spell death. And he says, let's gamble life. Big sister Erza. So what is this? How does he know Erza? So he says, long time no see. And as this is all going on, Gray's having his confrontation with this dude, and Juvia stands in to protect him. You'll not lay a finger on Gray-sama. Juvia will take you on. Why does Juvia talk like that? You know, she refers to herself as Juvia all the time in her sentences. And then it goes completely dark, as it looks like Natsu's getting shot. Don't worry, he'll be all right. And then this guy, he can use a form of card magic similar to that of Kana, where you can trap people on the cards, and to which he did, all the bystanders. So it's just Erza, and except Lucy's there too. She's hiding in the background. And then this one shows up, Miliana, who's like half human, half cat, and she's got Lucy all wrapped up. And they mentioned that, you know, Erza was like a big sister to everyone, but she betrayed them. Like, how would Erza betray them? Erza, all she does is think about others before herself. And they've got everyone all apprehended and tied up, and they take Erza away. So we're going back to the Tower of Heaven, and they say, Jellal will be so pleased. The Tower of Heaven. You mean they actually finished it? And then it shows everyone all beat up here. You got Lucy all tied up, Natsu. You know, did that guy really shoot him? I mean, he looks like he's got blood on his mouth, but he'll be all right. And then Gray with and Juvia all defeated. So they're getting ready to go, and Lucy actually says, ow! And this dude in the card is holding a knife, and it turns out the knife can actually go through the card. And Lucy says, well, cut my restraints. And the guy's like, oh, no problem, babe. You know, just, you know, roll over the other side, you know, being a pervert. But can't really blame him. And then Juvia shows up, and it turns out she was actually protecting Greg with her water magic, and got the ass shot there. And just the language here. Gray-sama is here within Juvia. Inside? Not inside you, inside Juvia. So, and Juvia is trying to say that, you know, Gray's hers, and you can't have him, Lucy. And Lucy's like, no, I don't want him. I want Natsu. You know, at least that's kind of what the vibe I'm getting at this point. But anyway, Natsu's okay. He was shot in the mouth, but he's all right. I'm going to get that boxy creep. So then it cuts over here to the Tower of Heaven with Jellal talking to his underling here. And that's where we get his name card. I haven't really seen his face. He's all hooded. It kind of looks like he has the fairy tale emblem almost, a sort of variation to it, right? And he says, you will become a sacrifice upon the altar of my ambition, Erza Scarlet. So in the midst of all this, Miliana actually kidnapped Happy. You know, because she's a cat. She likes cats, I guess. So, Sho appears to really have feelings for Erza as he's crying, hugging her. And he says that, you know, everyone missed you, but why'd you betray Jellal? And then it cuts to a flashback here of young Erza. Looks like that's young Sho, another one of them. And here's young Jellal. And look at this. He's got like the same sort of insignia on his face that Seagrain does. So again, it shows Seagrain, and they're talking about the R system, which is another name for the Tower of Heaven, and the Magic Council is having a mental breakdown here, mentioning that the R system is made up of forbidden magic, and anyone who wields it is bad news. And they mention there's a mysterious man calling himself Jellal who's operating it, and they're like, Jellal, what's going on? And then it cuts over to Seagrain, Altir, who we know is in cahoots with Seagrain, and then Yajima. So, you know, what's the deal with Seagrain and Jellal? Well, we'll find out. I'm not going to spoil it quite yet. So, they all make their way on a boat, and, you know, Natsu has his motion sickness, and the whole idea here is they're going to use Natsu's keen scent to find Erza, but he's really not cooperating because he looks like he's going to hurl. And, you know, Juvia's like, oh, Juvia, Gray-sama. And everyone's like, oh, we're approaching it. Just look at Natsu's face. I still can't get over his motion sickness. Like, is this really going to go on anytime he's on something that moves? It's absolutely hilarious. So here they are at the Tower of Heaven. And Erza's all tied up, getting ready to speak to Jellal. And again, gets to a flashback here of when they're all kids. And this guy punishing all the children because, they had a plan to escape. To which Jellal says it was me who came with the plan. And obviously it wasn't. But he takes the fall for whoever did come with the plan. And Sho mentions it was he who made the plan to escape. But he was too much of a coward to accept the punishment. So what they're going to do here with the R system, and the R system stands for revive, is Jellal claims they're going to bring everyone to heaven, but in all actuality it's meant to revive Zareth. So we've heard Zareth's name in the past, how there's all these demons from the book of Zareth. We had the Lullaby demon, we had Deliora, and they mentioned Zareth as this evil black wizard from way back when. And well, looks like he's coming back into the fold. So then we cut over to Happy in the room full of cats. What's going on? All these cats? Aye, sir. And the box guy, I don't think they revealed names, but I'll just call them their names. So this guy, his name is Wally, and this guy is named Simon. So just so we know. So I'm not gonna keep calling them their, non-name, their real names. You know what I'm saying? So Wally keeps saying, he's not a cat. How can a cat talk? And Million is arguing with him about how cats can talk and they can't talk because she's a cat, and just all this funny humor. So Jellal's walking around saying, the game of heaven begins, and he's got like this chessboard all set up, ready to go. And then Seagrain says that they must take out the R system with the satellite square Etherion. And again, Etherion is also a forbidden, not really a forbidden magic, but a magic that the council uses as the last resort to defeat enemies. And it's very, very powerful and can take out cities. So they're sort of apprehensive to use that. And as they're making their way here to sneak into the castle, or the tower rather, Juvia uses her water magic to, put water bubbles on everyone's head so they can breathe underwater. And, again, you got the scene of Lucy in her bikini, and, she's like, I had hoped you drowned. You can't get my Gray Psalm. Having her love rivalry with Gray. So they're all ready to fight, and everyone's using their new powers. You got Lucy summoning Cancer, and Juvia using Water Slicer. So it's cool to see everyone using their new moves, fighting the enemies. And this guy's saying that, they've made their way to the tower. And Jellal says, no one will stop me. So, and also, I think I kind of glossed over, but Seagrain reveals that Jellal is actually his brother. That's why they have the same insignia on their face. So as they're making the way through, Lucy has a new outfit that she got from Cancer. So Cancer is similar to that of Erza's re-equipping. He can change hairstyles and also, give people new outfits and stuff. So here's Lucy's new outfit she's got on. And at this point, Erza escaped from Sho and regroups with all her friends and says we need to get out of the tower. But Natsu says, no, I got to go find Happy first. What are you talking about? So he's going after Miliana. Erza says she's got to confront Jellal. And she tells the others not to intervene. And actually starts blushing and crying. And they're like shocked because they've never really seen her cry before, because she always has this tough outward personality. But on the inside, she really does care. And here she does the revealing of how she grew up in the tower here where, she lived with Jellal and all the other people. And in the midst of their escape, was beaten and battered so much that she was actually blind in one eye. And this is when they make their escape. And she says, we have to run and fight. And you see she's wearing an eye patch. I mean, Erza really did have a rough upbringing there. And she said that Jellal was, a kind-hearted soul for a time and really a great guy. But when he was tortured, it turned Jellal into something else. Because, we saw a few pages ago that he had taken the blame for the escape plan and they had tortured him. And look how, scrawny he is there, bleeding all over. They really destroyed him. So here's the revolt of the Tower of Heaven with all the kids fighting back. And at this point, Erza is able to use her magic and her re-equipping abilities, and that's how she's able to wield all these weapons. And you have this breaking point with Jellal here. He says, God, there is no God. Even if there was a God who can't save one little kid, doesn't deserve to exist. I hate them. Hate. I hate them all. I hate their God. I hate everything in this whole lousy world. And there's this voice talking to him. And it's the spirit. He says, I am called Zeref, and hate is my existence. And the spirit of Zeref makes his way into Jellal's body. And in the midst of all this action, like I said, Erza is able to use her magic for the first time using her re-equipping, and she actually is blindsided for a minute, and this old man steps in the way, known as Grandpa Rob, and he takes the hit. He says, Grandpa lost his magic long ago, but Erza, you still have a world of possibilities. Grandpa, the key is the heart. And actually, as he falls, you can see on the... Let me see, yeah. As he falls, you see on his back, he has the fairy tale emblem. And at some point, he had mentioned to her that, if you ever make it off this island, the Tower of Heaven, make your way to Fairy Tale and start a life there. So as he falls and he dies, he sort of passes on his magic and spirit. And Erza has her rage, sort of like how she does the Heaven's Wheel armor, where she summons like all those swords. She does that right here. And is able to defeat all the enemies at once and leads the uprising. So look at her, total badass, just destroying all these adults and everything. And she makes her way to save Jellal. And to which, the spirit of Zeref is inside him. And he says, freedom is right here. And everyone's ready to escape. But Jellal has turned and he says, true freedom is only found in Zeref's world. And he doesn't want to leave because he's been taken over by this evil spirit. And he says, go take your freedom, but never come back here ever again. So Erza leaves. And just a heartbreaking backstory of her. I mean, all these characters have really had such tragic upbringings. I mean, Gray's parents died. His master died. Natsu was raised by the dragon who left him for unknown reasons as of yet. Lucy's mother died, and her father, all he cares about is money. And Erza, was raised as a slave, and her best friend Jellal is evil. So it ends with her saying, I will have to fight Jellal, as she starts crying, because she doesn't want to fight Jellal. Jellal was a friend of hers. So to be continued. So, and then there's a little side story here, which I feel is out of place for, how like emotional this story was to start anyway. But this is a side story that I feel like they should have put it either at the beginning or at the end of the last volume, but we'll get into that right here. So it's called Beware of Guys Who Show a Keen Interest. And this is sort of like a, romance type thing. And Mira Jane's like, oh, I wonder who likes you. Whoa. You get this good scene of Natsu and Happy as ninjas. And she says Natsu likes you to Lucy. And Lucy's like, no way. He doesn't like me. And she starts blushing a little. And Mira Jane says, you make the cutest couple. So she makes her way home. And she sees Natsu in her apartment, of course, like always. Here you go again, breaking into my apartment. And Natsu says, I have something I have to ask you, Lucy. And she starts blushing. Oh, what's going on? What's he going to ask me? Sigh. And then Natsu sees her the next day. And, Lucy her heart starts beating really fast. So she's like, oh, I've been with Natsu for all these months now in Fairy Tale. He's so cool and so nice. But a relationship with him or dating him isn't something I'd bargain for. And she starts thinking about him. And he has like this dreamy look. Look at this. Listen, imagination, don't go prettying him up without my permission. Come on, though. Natsu and Lucy would be a great couple. Look at that right there. look at her. She's having a mental breakdown. She can't have it. And then he says, there's something important I want to discuss with you tonight. No, don't let this happen. We're going to meet at the tree at the Southgate Park. I'm blushing. Was Natsu blushing or was I blushing? I don't know. Then she's having a bath and contemplating how she should dress when she meets Natsu. And, she summons Cancer to give her a nice hairdo and a nice outfit. And then Natsu's like, oh, here's what I wanted to ask you. We gotta bring that maid of yours out, Virgo. There's some buried treasure here. So really, Natsu, I mean, maybe he does, but, he had to ask her something, but it wasn't like, oh, Lucy, will you be my girlfriend? It was, can you help me dig a hole? Because there's buried treasure. And then Lucy makes her way back, and then Mira Jade says, oh, I was just thinking, Gray really has a thing for you, don't you think? And she's like, no, we're not going down that path anymore. So, again, a great volume. Here's some more of the fan art. And, oh, look, Happy, I forgot about this. Happy has a little quest here. And I guess he made a cake or whatever thing that tastes like fish. So, and then Mashima mentions the fact that this is Erza's story. It's going to be very dramatic stuff, but also fun stuff. A small laugh here and there. I mean, it was pretty dramatic. And then we got that that little side story at the end, which is pretty good. And the Erza backstories and everything. And then also, there's another secret that's part of this episode. It's very mean-spirited, evil plot. Those in the know will know what I'm talking about, and those who don't will have enjoyment of watching the whole thing unfold. It will become clear in volume 11 or maybe 12. So this particular arc is going to go on for a couple more volumes. And again, like I said, I highly recommend Fairy Tail. I think it's a great series. I've mentioned in the past that I've sort of been watching episodes that I've been reading, but I've stopped, and I'm going to binge watch it all after I finish reading everything, because I feel like that'd be the best bet, because I'm going to be comparing too much of the anime to the manga. So I'll keep reading the manga, and then when I eventually finish that, many, many volumes later, I'll give the anime a watch. But I really do love how they keep bringing in other characters' backstories and how Erza is connected to all these characters, and especially Jellal, who is the main antagonist of this arc, and the implications of him being Seagrain's brother on the Magic Council, and how it's also implied that Seagrain and Altair are conspiring within the council. So a lot of crazy stuff going on. So thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for my review of Volume 11 coming soon. Have a great day, everybody.